Okay, yay, I'm live. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy to see all the people that signed up for this webinar. This is a really exciting topic for me because I live my life by my intuition and a lot by my passion as much as I'm organized and somewhat, trying to live by a system through work and Charleston Hypnosis Center and all of that. And this topic is something that came up. It was actually inspired by one of my friends and clients, Brooke Weathers, who sent me a dream one day, and she was asking me about interpreting it. And it just gave me this intuitive download that how much I love dreams. They've been dream analysis has been a part of my life since high school. And I've started hosting this month just to see if there was interest. These little small intimate workshops where maximum 6 people get together and we do dream analysis. And this training today, the free training, is something that you can use to start analyzing your own dreams. Hopefully it will inspire you to really harvest the wisdom, so much wisdom that's there that people just, it's like a special email that you have just for higher wisdom and intuition, and most people aren't opening their emails. So your dreams are like emails to you every night. And, but they come in psychic shorthand, which I'll talk about, and they come in symbols, and they come magically and amazingly. And the more you listen to them, thank you, Brooke. And the more that you're going to find that they bring wisdom, intuition, and confidence into your life. So welcome everybody live. I see Wes and Joanne and Mary Kate and Prentice and Brooke. There may be a few more of you here, but it's not showing me on here. So what I'm going to do, if you've watched my videos before, I'm a big slide person. I feel like instead of me rambling, it helps me organize my thoughts. It's visual, but also at the end, I'll switch off the slides, and then we'll definitely have time to chat, and you can ask questions and all that good stuff. And if you're not already in my Modern Intuition group on Facebook, I'll make sure that I drop that link in the box here. Let me do it right now, where I'll be giving more updates. I wrote another article today about how intuition works with dreams. You can join my email list, but probably joining the group is like the better way. And I know several of you are already in the group that are here with me today. So, but if you're not, there's my free Facebook group that I've just reignited again. And you can read why I took a hiatus and all that. But let's jump right in to the slides. And gosh, I've got to just add. So I went back out because it was using a different camera, which was really fuzzy. And so let me just load the slide presentation again. So as we're going along, probably if there's a question that you have, again, just type it in. You don't have to wait till the end. Type it in and I'll scroll back through those questions. And so if you haven't already, while this is uploading, go ahead and grab a piece of paper or something, because there's going to be some tips, some questions, some insights that you want to jot down so that you'll remember them when you go back to your dreams. And so that might be, useful to you. Actually, nope, let me cancel that. Different presentation. Okay. And so I don't know how many of you are already, like if you want to just drop in the chat, I'd like to know how many of you are actually already analyzing your dreams or writing your dreams down. And then how many of you are in the process of maybe just allowing this to be like your sort of impetus to get going with analyzing your dreams. So I know, Brooke, you were on the thing on the dream analysis workshop last night. So I know that you are currently analyzing your dreams, but I'd love to hear if there's anyone else that is actually doing that. And if you're not, then you'll probably get a lot out of, I mean, you're going to get a lot out of this either way, but let me upload this. And while it's uploading, okay, sorry about that. When I went back out to close out and open the camera, it it lost my presentation. So yeah, let me go into the chat. So you only write down certain ones. Okay, so write down even fragments. We'll talk about that, Joanne, but what's really interesting is some of them just feel like they're mundane or you don't have a lot of energy around them or whatever. But oftentimes, if you have several dreams in one night, they may be all like, it's like 2 or 3 parts of you having a chime in on a certain topic in your life, or it might be a callback to another topic. So I would definitely, it's a little bit more work, but I would write them all down. And then the more that you get into this dream analysis, you'll probably find that the more useful and meaningful they are. And so Wes says, not actively analyzing. I've had recent difficulty with my dream recall. That's a huge question. So I'm glad you said that. Here's the thing. If you were to start with this whole intention, it's like of writing these questions down, intending, like, go Wes with the idea, I'm going to start remembering my dreams. And then you actually will start remembering your dreams, because it's like, oh, he's going to start opening the inbox now. He's going to start opening the emails. And so typically, once your subconscious mind knows that you're actually going to open the emails, the dreams, it will start sending you more. And then the more you write them down, the more that they will come to you. So let's see. Okay, great. Deanna, you're already on the ball with this. You've been analyzing your dreams for years. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great. So I'm glad to know where everybody is with that. Hi, Prentice from South Carolina. All right, so let me go back to my slides here. Okay, all right, so let's start this. So excited to do this. Okay. Unlocking your intuition through dream analysis. Well, guys, pretty much you guys all know me, but I own Charleston Hypnosis Center. So why am I doing a workshop on dreams? Because dreams are a way that your subconscious mind communicates with you. And so it pairs just so organically for me with years and years of doing clinical hypnotherapy, which is all about tapping into the subconscious mind to identify and align beliefs. It's about clearing resistance. It's all about using and tapping into your subconscious to be more and get more out of life. So that's why dreams really fascinate me. And I also teach American Hypnosis and Coaching Academy. But this year in January was 30 years of me doing this work. It's just mind-boggling to me. So, all right. So dreams are a powerful way your intuition speaks to you. And it's not just your intuition, but it's your, I believe, so if you don't know, the theory is that I was taught in hypnosis training is that your mind records every memory, every experience on this like massive hard drive. And some people believe it's in the body, but a lot of people, what it's kind of saying now, it's like almost like our mind connects to the cloud in the sky, and the cloud in the ethers is where that big massive hard drive is. So you have your personal hard drive with all your experiences, and then you can tap into cosmic mind or universal mind. I think Jung called it, all knowing or something like that. So your dreams are a way that you can tap into all wisdom, all knowing, and your personal knowing. So your body of data. So it's like having a way to access the chat GBT that's personally for you. So why interpret your dreams? You're going to gain a lot of self-awareness if you start to do this regularly. If you read my last couple blog posts on RebecaTaylorShaw.com and some of the posts that I've linked to in Modern Intuition, in fact, the one that I posted today was about how I asked my intuition to help me with a big business decision that I was trying to make where logic just wasn't answering it for me. I had column A and column B, why I should stay with this new business venture and why I should go. And a lot of times in life, doing the column A, pros and cons, column B just doesn't help us any further. So in those spaces and times in my life, I know that intuition is the key to help me move forward. So a lot of times your dreams are going to help you with problem solving. If they're stressful, it might be because your inner world is trying to balance something or work out something or work out stressful emotions for you. So a problem might not just be like a business decision. It could be the problem within you is that your mind and your emotions need more harmony. And that harmony might come from having the disharmony coming from inner conflict. So your dreams can help you problem solve. With your asking and without your asking. So the Sonoy tribe was a tribe in the South Pacific that scientists studied decades ago. And what they most noted about them is they were the most pacifistic society in the world, meaning they had no crime, no rapes, no thefts, nothing. And they wanted to understand, well, what are these people doing? And one of the things that they had as a part of their culture was dreams were very, very powerful and considered essential to a healthy life and a healthy society. And one of the things they would do is every morning the family gathers in the longhouse and they would each share a dream. And if there was conflict in the dream, the person, even from as a child, was told, if you feel like fighting someone, fight someone. If you feel like being intimate with someone, be intimate with someone. If you feel upset about something, act in the dream. And so the theory is that they were working through all these internal problems and emotions and interrelational problems inside their dreams so that they woke up every day with more harmony. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, it is to me. So you have the ability to tap into profound inner wisdom. If you go back and just read the last 3 blog posts, RebecaTaylorShaw.com, I wrote those to just tell you, not to brag about what I can do, but to tell you how profound your subconscious mind is and to give you an idea of the inner wisdom that you can tap into for yourself. And interestingly, it's why I used to give intuitive readings and I would do quote unquote psychic readings years ago, but I haven't done that for years because I want to teach you guys to tap into your own wisdom and intuition through things like this versus me telling you something, because that's way more powerful. Okay, so the 3 pillars of dream interpretation are the ability to remember your dreams, recording your dreams, and then basically analyzing the dreams. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Okay, so Wes and anybody else listening, first thing is just set that intention before you go to sleep at night. Have your journal right there. I recommend having a separate journal for your dreams. And you might have a separate one for your day-to-day life. You might have a separate one for your intuitive downloads and your study of intuitive development. But I'd say just have one dedicated just for dreams, which is a subset of your intuitive development. And have it right by your bed. Maybe have a flashlight. So if you're with a partner or someone else and you don't want to wake everyone up with lights on, or it's just dark in your room in the morning, you don't want to get up and turn the light on, have a flashlight, have your journal. And when you go to bed at night, say, I will remember my dreams. Or in hypnosis, we always like to phrase things more in the now, in the present. So I do remember my dreams. I remember my dream when I wake up. I remember my dreams when I wake up. I always remember my dreams. You could just affirm that for several days. I always remember my dreams. I'm so good at dream recall. And I'm telling you, it's that easy. It will start to work. Your subconscious mind will hear you. You're now saying that I want to remember these dreams. I value them. I'm going to open the emails, and then have that pen and paper ready. I'm not a big believer that you should, try to type it in a little phone digital app, but okay, whatever works for you is fine. The idea is avoiding sudden movements. I mean, most people will say they remember their dream when they wake up, they get in the shower or whatever, and then, by 3:00 in the afternoon, they barely remember any of it, if not at all. They forget about it. Maybe something happens in the day that stimulates you and you go, oh, yeah, I remember that dream I had. So definitely write down as much of it as you can in the morning. Now you might be able to come back to it later and fill in, because more of it could come in later in the day. And then you always want to focus on the feelings of what you felt when you woke up from the dream, because the feelings are really important, because you can put two people in the same situation, let's say swimming around with a whale shark, and one person wakes up from the dream terrified and another person wakes up from the dream feeling like she had a spiritual experience. So definitely write down the feelings that you were feeling in the dream. That's very important, and we'll talk more about that. So in your dream journal, write down the date. You can write down the time you woke up. You definitely want to write down a title. Give every dream a title. And that's why it will just be easier when you go back and refer to the dreams, because if you give it a title right away, it's like I could go back 2 years ago and say, the dream where I met my spirit guides, I met my spirit guides in the library. And I'm like, oh yeah. So it's just an easier way, if you're thumbing back through your journal, that you might be able to go back and say, oh, I had a dream similar to this, or I think this relates to this other dream I had. So give it a title, and then write down everything you remember in detail, as much as you can, giving it as much detail, what happened, who you saw, how you felt, if there were any symbols. So anytime in your dream, and we're going to go more into this later in the presentation, but if you see animals, they're not random, write them down. You see children or infants, write them down. Okay, so definitely if you're, sometimes a place can be symbolic because your mind associates a feeling with a place. So for example, there's been several of my dreams where I'm in New York City, and for me, New York City, I have fond memories of it. It was exciting, bustling, saw shows and stuff like that. For someone else, they might think of New York City and they feel an aversion to it. Maybe they got mugged or, something like that, got lost in the subway. I'm not sure. But just that's why you want to be as detailed as possible. And then I think, Joanne, maybe some of the dreams that you're having are just little fragments. And so definitely write the fragments down. So if you go back to the two dreams that I share, they were like the shortest dreams ever. And so someone else might wake up and go, oh gosh, that was like a split-second dream, and don't bother writing it down. And it could be one of the most profound messages that your subconscious mind has ever given you. So definitely write down what I call fragments. So it could be just a song lyric that you hear. It could be one phrase that's said to you. It could just be an image, one single photographic image of something. Write them all down and give them titles and date them. And if in that fragment, I talk about in one of the articles that I was just hearing a song lyric. And when I woke up from the dream, I just had this feeling like peace. Like, peace, everything's going to be okay. And I love that particular song. The phrase I heard was let the river guide you. And again, you can please go and read that article that I wrote about that dream. It'll explain a lot. And so write the fragments down. And then here's the key list of questions to write in your journal. And let's see. So again, I've emphasized, what are the feelings upon waking? For example, anxiety, dread, sadness, relief. It could be a mix of things. So definitely write down how you feel upon awakening or how you felt in the dream. The setting, of course, you can describe the setting. That kind of goes without saying. And then you would also want to include what real life memories or prior dreams does this dream remind you of. I will paste these questions into the Modern Intuition group. They're also in one of my previous emails this past week. I have the list of questions. But if that dream reminds you of a time in your life, because it's a certain place, if it reminds you of a dream you had last week, because maybe there's the same feeling in it, same feeling would be, it might be connected. The symbols might be the same, but this is where you're really going to have to stretch for your intuition. So if it reminds you of something, even if it doesn't make sense, just jot it down, because as you go on to analyzing, it could make sense later when you can, you're not fresh in the morning. You might not have time to analyze it. And in fact, it might be better I find for me, if I write the dream down in the morning, I just download it, dump it, brain dump, and then I come back later having a cup of tea or coffee or the next morning and analyze the dream. I get a lot more out of it. So don't feel like you have to analyze the dream. The morning time is, just write it down. And if you have time to analyze it, you can. Okay, so then what are the symbols or key phrases in the dream? Like I said, if some statement in the dream stands out, if someone says something to you, if you hear yourself saying something, and again, a symbol can be a place, it could be an animal, it could be a person, it could be an object, it could be the Eiffel Tower, it could be anything. But if something in the dreams feels significant to you intuitively, you might write that down as a symbol. In the Modern Intuition group, I recorded a video on creating your symbol dictionary. I'm going to do another free workshop next week where I dive a little bit deeper into that. It'll cover some of this stuff I covered last week, but it's going to go more general with not just symbols in your dreams, but symbols that come to you in intuition in day-to-day life. So I'll do a deep dive. Today, I will go over a couple significant symbols I want you to start looking for in your dreams. And then again, date your dream and assign it a title. So I do go over this in the symbol when I encourage you to make your own symbol dictionary. And why do you want to make a symbol dictionary? Because the subconscious mind communicates to you in symbols. And oftentimes why it does that is because there's this understood agreement of what a symbol means. It's kind of like the inside joke with a friend or a family member. It could be something you see and instantly you have a feeling about what that means to you. So typically symbols are personal. Some of them are universal. And again, I'll deep dive into this in the symbol training, and you can come on that next week. There's common symbols like flying for most people represents freedom, rising above life, and considering what's happening in the dream. You're going to write that down, of course, and then context. So again, where you are, what's happening, and every little detail is can really be so telling. And so over time, what happens is it's like you are developing a best friend relationship with your subconscious mind. And as you start to record these symbols more and more and assign them a meaning, then what your subconscious begins to understand is oh, when I see an ice cream cone, it means relax, let go, be more playful, be more childlike. For someone else, the first psychic I ever went and got a reading from, an ice cream cone meant prosperity. So there's no right or wrong to what the symbols mean, but it's your subconscious mind's way of communicating to you a story, a message in a very short amount of time, or really actually very efficiently. So common dream themes, of course, people being chased. So in the Sonoy tribe, they would say, if you're being chased, never run away, turn around, face your attacker. And if you've ever had one of those dreams, I know I haven't had many in my life, but I remember the couple of times when I did, I turned around and there was nothing there. So it can typically mean you're avoiding something in your waking life. Teeth falling out, that's a common one for people. And I really don't know that I have any assigned meaning to teeth falling out, but it typically does come with a feeling of anxiety. So I'd have to, if you shared a dream like that, I'd have to know the context. Exams, school, this is my recurring dream. I'm back in college, I'm halfway through the semester, and it's like, that's where the dream starts. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't study for the exams. I don't even know where the admissions office is to drop this class. And there's a lot of anxiety. And it's typically in times in my life where I'm feeling overwhelmed or unprepared, or like I'm falling behind. So nudity in dreams, that's the classic thing for feeling exposed. Again, it might not mean that in your dream, but these are just the kind of things that people often think of when they talk about dream themes. Okay, so now we're going to get to the fun stuff. This is the probably very not known idea about animals. And where I learned this was from a Freudian dream analyst out in California. We would go to a small group setting. Back then, they didn't have Zoom, so we would show up live, and every week we would bring one dream, and each one of us got to share the dream. And then we would do this technique called borrowing the dream. And that meant that I'll share my dream, and each of you, there would be, I think, a max of like 5 other people, will borrow the dream. And so instead of telling me what you think the dream means for me, you would say, okay, Rebecca, if I borrowed your dream, meaning I'm looking at it through my lens, I'm looking at it through how I live my life and my past experiences, it would mean this. And then each time someone would share what they thought my dream meant, if they borrowed it, I'm taking notes. And it's really cool because oftentimes that will spark insights for you. You'll have this feeling, this intuitive feeling like, yes, I relate to that. That feels right to me. And so you get this dream analysis really quickly, like you can get in 15 minutes from just that feedback from someone else borrowing your dream. You can get these amazing epiphanies. So here's the thing that she taught us that I don't know that anybody else teaches this, but if you have animals in your dreams, they represent symbolically something that your subconscious mind is trying to share with you. And typically animals in dreams are not universal. Animals in dreams are personal to you. So when you see an animal in a dream, it can often represent an emotion, a feeling. So whenever you see an animal in your dream, you're going to go to your symbol dictionary, separate from where you wrote the dream down, go into the back of your dream journal or create a separate symbol dictionary. And why I say that is over time, you'll start to develop this list. It will help not only you with dream interpretation, but if you start to do meditations where you can go into meditation and ask for what I call a download, where you're asking for information. What should I do about this? What do I need to know about this? And you have these list of symbols, and your mind will say, oh, if I show her an ice cream cone, Rebecca already knows what this means. This means you need to be a little more playful today. And I go, okay. Thank you, higher self. Thank you, wise universal mind. Yeah, that's true. I do need to be more playful today. And so it's like, boom, I got that message just by one single image. So when you see an animal, write down the animal, describe its appearance and, maybe what it's doing in that scene or in the dream. And then here's the key. You're going to ask yourself, when I think of that particular animal, what comes to mind first? What's your immediate association with the animal? So, if I say, if you think of a snake, for example, I'm going to use that one later in the presentation. Some of you might have had a pet snake when you were growing up. Some of you might be terrified of snakes. Some of you might just think they're disgusting, but, you might say, well, they're disgusting, but they keep the rodent life down where I live, or something like that. A horse, it might be that they're free-spirited and strong, so you ask yourself, when I think of this animal, what's the first thing, how would I describe it? Like, you're just top of mind without analyzing it too much. What's the first thing I think of? And I would rather have you do that. And that's typically far more accurate for what the dream is trying to convey to you versus the common cultural or symbolic meaning. Now, they might overlap, they might be the same, but oftentimes they're different. Then you want to write down how you relate to the animal in the dream. So do you feel happy to see it? Do you feel detached from it? Do you feel love for it? And then if you're feeling emotions towards the animal, oftentimes in the dream, an animal can represent emotions within you that you're struggling with. So someone that was in the group last week, the live dream analysis, saw a shark and a whale shark in the dream, and they were having it out with each other in the ocean. So we talked about, I know I'm going to paraphrase this and I might not get it exactly right, but a shark, is kind of a typical thing. It's a predator. It's a threat, it's dangerous. And then the whale shark was something beautiful and a little ominous, but not so threatening. And in the dream, these two critters are in the ocean battling out with each other. And as I borrowed the dream and we went through the dream analysis, the shark and the whale shark were signifying this inner turmoil about some big decision and question this person had in her life. And her dream was working it out symbolically in the ocean. And she was right there watching it happen, watching the shark and the whale shark go at it. And that was profound. It was really just amazing. And you can't make this stuff up. Like if I said, quick, make up a dream about your inner turmoil on this subject, your brain would just melt down, right? So you can start to interpret the dreams really quickly. We have a lot of animals in our dreams quite often because we are emotional beings, and it's just the way that the subconscious mind seems to want to help us process is through personifying the emotions as animals. Okay, so I gave this example. I did this in a live workshop, and I was doing a workshop years ago in Mexico, and I asked the people in the group, this is something I'll be doing later on, an interactive imagery, guided imagery. And I asked everyone in the room to follow me through a guided meditation to see a power animal. And one person in the room saw a snake as her power animal. And so we're going around, everyone's sharing what their animal was they saw and how they felt about it. And so this one woman shared the snake, and she, and right away, before she could even say how she interpreted it, the girl was like, why would you pick this other girl in the group said, why would you pick, a snake as your power animal? They're poisonous, they're dangerous, they're disgusting, right? So that was what that woman thought when she first thinks of a snake, right? Well, this woman was from Mexico. She said she had Mayan, ancestry. And in the Mayan culture, a snake is a revered symbol of power, transformation, and healing. And she was a breast cancer survivor. So wild, so beautiful, so amazing. So you really want to start to understand your symbols. And so that's just an example of, you can't take it at face value. And sure, you can go online and look up what a snake means in your dreams. But if you can start to interpret what they mean for you. So when you first think of if you see a snake in your dream, what's the first thing you think of? And just rip that off, because whatever that is will be very revealing to you. And the cool thing is, when you're first awake in the morning, you're not as analytical. So you're just going to riff on it, and then you can go back later and explore that. So here's the other fun thing that I've never heard anyone else teach when it comes to dream interpretation. And this is, in dreams, if you see other adults, we won't even go there typically with what that means or whatever, because typically it's just, it could be, some people believe everything in the dream in it is an aspect of you. But certainly when you see babies, infants, and children in your dreams, they have this very powerful purpose. Babies, infants, and children in dreams are often a way that the subconscious connects past events to your current life and whatever it is you're trying to process in the dream, work out in the dream, heal in the dream, understand in the dream. So infants, babies, children are essentially symbols in your dream. So what you would want to do is write down the age of that child. If it's an infant, it's 6 months old. And this is, again, going to be intuitive. You're not going to have anything in the dream telling you that infant is 6 months old. This one looks like a newborn. So, but you would just write down, and whatever your intuition says is going to be spot on. So it's like, okay, if that infant is, I feel like, looks about 6 months old, then you write down that. It could be that one of my students in the dream analysis saw her son. Her son was 11 years old in the dream. He was his current age as he is now. So she wrote down his name. He's 11 years old. Then, this is where it gets so mind-blowing. You're going to ask yourself 2 different lines of questions about this, reflecting on what was happening in your life that many months or years ago, corresponding to your age. So if you are 50 years old right now, and you see your son in the dream and he's 11, you say to yourself, okay, what was happening in my life 11 years ago? What was happening in my life 11 years ago? So for her, she remembered some thoughts and turmoil with her husband. And then the current dream was kind of about working through some turmoil with him. So it was really powerful and amazing and just mind-blowing that her mind was taking her back to another time in her life when she was struggling with the same issue or the same, internal argument, so to speak. So then it could be you have a dream about one of your children, but they're not the age they are now. They could be younger. They could be 5. Then you would ask yourself, what was happening in my life 5 years ago? And just jot it down. Again, you're going to riff on it. You may not make the connection, but oftentimes what was happening 5 years ago may relate to something that's happening in your life now. And your subconscious mind is saying, hey, you struggled with this 5 years ago, or you struggled with this 11 years ago. If it's a 6-month-old infant, what was happening in my life 6 months ago? That's when I filed for divorce with my husband. So whatever you're going to have to, this is where you're going to have to really start trusting your intuition. But the more you do this, Even if you don't know, you don't remember right now, okay, what was happening in my life 6 months ago? When you ask that question, you're asking the subconscious mind. It may not bring to the surface the answer for that right away when you're doing this journaling, but it can pop in later. That's how the subconscious mind works. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you see someone you're like, oh, I met that person at a party last year. What's her name? And then an hour later it pops in. So when you ask the question, what was happening in my life 5 years ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, 18 years ago, it could be a teenager that you're seeing in your life, in your dream. Your mind is trying to connect back a similar feeling, a similar time when you struggle with the same thing, or it's connecting back to where this problem, struggle, challenge in your life is rooted. So it could be something that, let's say you're having, some issue in your life now where you are struggling in relationships, you're dating, and you see your 5-year-old, but he's really not 5 years old now. He's 10 years old, but you remember, okay, what was happening in my life at age, when he was, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I went through divorce. My husband cheated on me. I have trust issues. Oh, okay. So my subconscious mind is trying to tell me that the reason I'm struggling now in my relationships is because of these trust issues. Oh, I guess I need to work on that. Like, I just did a dump on you, but that's how your mind will connect the dots for you. It's how it will reveal to you how things are connected. And I promise you, if this seems overwhelming right now, you just start doing these techniques. You start answering the questions as best as you can. Sometimes your subconscious will fill in the gaps later, but the more and more you do it, the more and more you will develop an ability to interpret the dreams. Okay, here's the flip side of it. You're going to ask yourself a second question. So if you see an 11-year-old in that dream, what was happening in my life when I was 11? If you see an infant, what was happening in my life when I was an infant? You may or may not think of anything. You might think, oh, well, my mom and dad went through divorce, or my dad died when I was an infant. Like, you'll know, like, if you just trust yourself, it'll pop in. You'll have that awareness of what's happening. And it's so fascinating because sometimes your mind is so incredible that it will give you that person, that child that's 5 years old, and something happening in your life now relates to something happening in your life 5 years ago, which relates to something that happened in your life when you were 5 years old. It is phenomenal. It is just, staggering to me how profoundly wise our mind is. And it's like a AI that can take all that data from your subconscious, your hard drive, and go boop, and show it all to you in one single symbol. So childhood parallels, just write down any significant events. Again, if it doesn't come to you right away, it can come later. And then you can learn to start assessing these parallels, or come to one of the groups and let me kind of, pump the pump and get you started with that, hear how other people do it. So your dream interpretation practice. Don't let this overwhelm you, what I've said today. I want to excite you with it. Start small. If you have any questions later on, definitely, message me in the group. Be patient with yourself. Trust your intuition about what you pick up on, the meaning of these things are, and embrace the unknown. You're never going to hear anything, know anything from your dreams that you're not ready to know. So if you're ready to do that, you can join me for these workshops. I've got 3 more this month. I'm doing them during the day now, but if I got enough people that needed nighttime, I'd probably do a nighttime one, but I prefer daytimes. And if you decide to come, you only need to come to one, or you can come to many. But the workshops are 2 hours. I max it at 6 people so that everyone has time to share. Bring 1 or more dreams, because if we only have a couple people, you'll have more time to share. And you're going to learn this dream borrowing process. It will just skyrocket your intuition. It'll get you hooked on dream analysis, and you'll be able to tap into your inner wisdom in ways that astound you. And if you're interested in signing up for one of those workshops, you can go right to RebecaTaylorShaw.com dreams/lab and sign up there, or again, message me. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the slide presentation and just see what questions you guys have. Okay, so let me see. Bunnies were in my dream last night. Awesome. Okay, so as an example of this, top of mind, first thing you think of, Brooke, when you think of bunnies, what's the first thing you think of? And while you're typing that, Prentice, yes. Dreams, it's that way with, like, when I do past life regression with people and things like that with hypnosis, they think they're going to remember, and then it just sort of fades through the day. So if you have time, wake up a little early and write down the dreams, because you're absolutely right. They fade out and you'll forget them, even maybe that you had them, if you don't write them down. Okay. Let's see. Anything else? Any other questions, guys? Did everything make sense? Did I confuse you with all of that? You know, part of it is I get so excited about it, but I also understand that I'm maybe teaching something that's totally new to you, and I want to be sensitive to that. If something I've said doesn't make sense, there's no stupid question here. So thank you, Deanna. And yeah, let's see. I don't know. I was waiting to see well, actually what I would ask, if anybody wants to participate in this, write one line. When you think of bunnies, what's the first thing you think of? And here's the interesting thing. So I'll just say for myself, the first thing that comes to mind for me is a really happy memory when I was a little girl and my father was mowing the lawn, and he found where the mama bunny had put a nest under the grass where there were these baby bunnies. And we went over and he allowed us to look at the bunnies, but we weren't allowed to touch them because the smell, if the human smell got on the bunnies, he was afraid that mama would just like disregard the bunnies. But when I think of bunnies, not a rabbit, but when you say bunnies, my mind goes right to one of the happiest like memories of me and my dad. So bunnies to me would be the feeling of, I'd probably write that memory down because maybe there's something in the dream about my father. But also just for me, it would be that it represents warmth and connection. That's how I would synthesize it into. So, okay. Cuddly, cute, fluffy, fun. That's right. So if you're going to start your dream journal, your symbol, dream symbol journal, which is your psychic shorthand. It's, if you're real old like me, you know what shorthand is. This is like the way that the secretaries would take notes because they couldn't write fast enough. So they would use symbols and things to take notes. So, but I'll do a full free training on that next week. So the idea is that now that you've been trained on this, if you want to come and do one of the workshops, you'll kind of jump in with more of an awareness to what's going on. And then if you want to do this at home, certainly it gives you a lot more information on how to do that. So Wes said, bunnies make me think of vulnerability. When I was about 8 years old, my sister's pet bunny died unexpectedly in its cage. Oh, that's horrible. Right. So isn't that interesting? So for you, when you would put in your dream symbol dictionary, I put bunnies, vulnerability, and then I would put that memory because if a bunny came up in your dream, it could be about feeling vulnerable. It also could be something about your sister or loss or death or something like that. Yeah, so Brooke, you said soft, gentle, delicate. Mary Kate said bunnies bring a feeling of precious babies. Yes. Oh, yeah, she was heartbroken. So yes, even heartbreak too. Absolutely. Yes. And so again, when you get really into this, That's the one thing about Louise Hay, you can heal your life. And she's like, oh, whenever you have diabetes, it means this, or whenever you have heart problems, it means this. So there's no set rule, but over time, you could, it's like if you say in my symbol dictionary that when I see a bunny, it represents heartbreak, then your mind says, okay, so from now on, when I show Wes a bunny in a dream, it means this. But when I show it to Prentice, a bunny, it represents happiness. And when I show it to Brooke, it means vulnerability. So it's like a very quick, powerful way that your subconscious mind communicates something to you, a feeling, typically an emotion. So Renee, you said good luck is coming soon. Awesome. I love that. So isn't that interesting? Every single person here had kind of a different, you might use the similar word, and sometimes it's hard to put it into words, but there's a feeling with it. So isn't that fascinating? So anyway, tell me, each of you, if you would, what is your biggest takeaway? The people who are still on here today, and if you're willing to share, what's your biggest takeaway from this presentation today? Just that would help me. So when I make future workshops and things like that, if you want to share, I would appreciate it. So. Gosh, I can't believe it's already been almost an hour on this, but fun stuff. Let me see. I don't think anybody typed anything in the Q&A. No, everybody's in the chat. Okay, good. Details matter. Yeah. Thank you. Pay attention to your dreams. Yeah. The importance of setting the intention. Yeah. And we didn't really talk about it today, but again, you can ask your dreams to give you can ask how I like to go is broad. I'm going to ask my intuition to give me information on something. I'm going to ask my intuition to help me to know whether I should see, if you read my latest article about, the answer came to me in a song, but I didn't ask for a dream. I asked my intuition to give me guidance on whether I should keep participating in a group business venture that I was involved with, that I was very excited about, because I was having intuition that I should leave. So I asked that. And then sometimes you can read something, sometimes you'll hear something someone says, sometimes it'll come in this, what I call a download, like a knowing. But in this particular instance, my intuition answered me in a dream. So yes, programming my subconscious to recall. Meaning is a personal thing, as we all have different experiences. Yes. And dreams can unlock so much in the subconscious. Beautifully said. Great. Thank you so much, everyone. I so enjoyed this, and I really appreciate sharing all this with you. And go big with your dreams, everybody. Bye.